Time to go get a beer and watch paint dry. What is up, everyone? Welcome back. So last event was Lime Rock. If you missed it, the footage is up on YouTube now, so just go back and take a look at it. Did pretty well. I was able to place first in my class with a 1 minute 2 second flat lap, so I'm super excited with that. But yeah, car is pretty good. It was smoking at Lime Rock. It's been smoking for almost a year now, but it's getting a little excessive, so I'm gonna check that soon. But what I'm getting into now is gotta make a new one of these and some new brackets. So I was at an autocross on Sunday just checking out some new suspension settings. Don't mind my garbage in here. And there was this nasty dip that I had no idea about until, obviously until I was out on the course. So what happened there was I bent the brackets that I have for my splitter. I don't know if you can see it. Let's turn this light on over here. Oh, wrong switch. Whoops. So I've bent the brackets right down here. This splitter bracket, let's see. Right here, it's got a nasty bend in it. I actually bent the car a little bit here. And the other one on that side's kind of bent down there. So I was able to fix it enough to drive it home. And I'm just gonna make a brand new splitter because, let's face it, this splitter's been through a lot. Woo! I even hit the curb on the side of my house. It's kind of late one night. I ended up flipping this up, but I glued it. But yeah, it looks like crap. I never sealed it. It's just regular wood. So after washing it and everything, it kind of just doesn't look that great anymore. So I'm gonna go to Home Depot, get a new piece of wood, and then we'll get into how I do everything from here. So it looks like I'm kind of lucky. We've still got a couple pieces here. My last splitter was pine. This one I'm gonna make out of birch. Birch is usually what you should use. A little expensive for a 4x8 sheet, but I can get 2 splitters out of one piece. For those of you who don't know, Home Depot can cut the piece of wood that you get, so you can just bring it over to their saw and they'll cut it either vertical or horizontal. So this piece I'm gonna get cut 24 inches. This is 8 foot by 4 foot. So if I cut it in half, 24 inches, and should leave me with enough space for 2 splitters. Now I just got to jack up the car, get the front up in the air, take this splitter down, take the brackets out, and then I'll show you what I'm working with from there. And then the bend right here, that should not be like that. That should be 100% straight. So I need to make new brackets. Those were really thin. I'm probably gonna make some thicker ones this time around. And then this one kind of has an awkward little twist and up to it. So yep, need to fix both of these. And then that is what holds the front end of my splitter because I kind of don't like the rods. And it's been doing well so far. My splitter's not massive, so this helps out pretty well. All right, so for those of you guys kind of wondering how I went about making my splitter brackets, for a Honda, it has 3 bolt holes here that are already threaded because from the factory it comes with like a little toe point or a strap point with a hole here so you can strap your car down. So basically what I did was I just measured from the top of the hole down to where I thought my splitter blade would be, and then I got a rough estimate of how long I need the steel to be. Then from there I just came up with a random number in my head of how long I would need the bracket part to be that goes to the splitter blade. And then I just made a measurement there, and I kind of just followed this 3-point hole scheme that Honda already had. But, you know, if you want to use 4 holes, you know, you can drill another one here, or depending what car you're using it on, you know, it all really depends on where you end up mounting your splitter to your car. So just kind of keep in mind that these brackets are made off of the factory toe design for this car, but it may differ for yours. I ended up straightening the brackets out because this dummy over here, meaning me, not you guys, thought that I had some thicker material. This is what I have. I have a whole like 4 foot by 4 foot sheet of this, but this is only 14 gauge steel. And this is obviously not. This is thicker. This is what these are made out of. Actually, probably not. Anyways, I had made these a long time ago. I thought I had thicker material. I obviously don't. This is not big enough. See, I'm gonna miss this here. And then the bottom's gonna be cut halfway through. I probably use this to make some brackets for something else or for somebody else. So both of them are all straightened out. This is the one that was really bad. So you can see this is pretty freaking straight. Not too bad for a hammer on a piece of iron job. So yeah, I just took a hammer to my vise, back part of my vise, flattened it out, worked out nice, and yep. So I'm basically just gonna make another hole down here, take the Dremel, straighten it out, make it nice, and I will be making these more slotted to hopefully compensate for any up pushing. So maybe it'll rise and drop in the slot instead of just bending this. I guess obviously it depends on how tight I have these, but we'll give it a shot, and then I'll repaint them, make them look nice. I had originally planned on reusing these, which were the original brackets from obviously the upright to the splitter. Those are just regular Home Depot L brackets that I painted, yeah, regular 90-degree steel. So no need to change those, there's nothing wrong with it. So I've got my holes in the brackets now. These other ones weren't the prettiest to begin with, but the bolts go right in. So now I'm going to grab my Dremel, cutoff wheel, and just take it straight down to the next. That's how I'm going to make these slots instead of just holes. My safety glasses, these are always important. Got my Dremel, cutoff wheel. I love this Milwaukee one, the battery one. This thing is awesome. And I'm just going to basically just cut from here to there on each of them. This may be making the bracket itself weaker, but I'm still trying to figure out if this will help in the future with the bolts being able to slide, or the brackets being able to slide through the bolts as opposed to the bracket bending. So fingers crossed this works. So I've got the first one kind of notched out. My original holes were never the greatest to begin with, as you can see. So I basically, like you saw, I just took the Dremel with the cutoff wheel, slotted them out. So now I'm going to take a little die grinder bit and smooth these out so the bolt that I'm using can slide up and down easily. So brackets have been notched. They're not the prettiest. Like I said, this is not the material that I want to be using, so this will do good for now. So I just took all the paint off of them. Gonna mock them back up on the car, and then we'll line up the splitter and see where we have to put these brackets on the new splitter. The brackets are now in place. So there they go, they're mocked up. The reason I wanted to notch them was so they can kind of slide up and down, and then I kind of made them a little bigger so I can kind of pitch the splitter, you know, down, up, depending on what I need. But my goal, or my hope at least, is that if I do bottom out the splitter again, hopefully it'll push the bracket up, even though it will be tight, instead of just bending the bracket the way it was before. So yeah, bracket's in place. I'm going to put in those 2 side pieces now, and then I will take the piece of birch that I've got, mount it up underneath, and then figure out where I'm cutting what. All right, mounted the bumper back on. It's nice and secure. Got to take a video, but I basically just put some pieces of wood on top of my jack, and then I laid down my piece of birch. So the reason I have so much on this side and I'm not just putting it in the center is because I kind of don't want to waste that material. Maybe I can use it for something around my house later in the future, but this is more than enough for what I need on the side of the splitter. I like to try and keep it even with the tire, maybe come out just maybe a finger length more. So this is probably 3 inches more than what I need width wise, so I'm okay with this. It's got this gap right here, and on the other side I'm using the jack stands to kind of push it up a bit because my exhaust manifold sits kind of low. So I'm gonna have to make a cut around where the exhaust manifold is before I make my line for where my lip sits. So I'm just going to grab a Sharpie, going to just make a rough mark around where this is. Let me see if I can do this with this hand. I want to leave some space out here, right? It's not the prettiest mark, but the mark's going to work. Used my handy dandy jigsaw to cut out this chunk here. It's now over there, and that hole for the exhaust manifold. So now what I'm going to do is make sure that my splitter is even on each end on the most furthest back point of this lip. So this is pretty dang close. Now, how's this side? This side is pretty dang close, needs a little bit of wiggle back. I know my lip's not in right, but I'll fix that. So that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna take my Sharpie, and because I have these plates in already, these brackets, I'm gonna make sure they sit flat on the splitter, and I'm just gonna mark the holes on each side. So I know that this will basically be my center point of the splitter. And then once those two have the holes in them and they're bolted in to the splitter blade, I'll secure everything to the car, and then I will make my mark around the lip. All right, so I've got the brackets mounted up, just a couple bolts on each side. Pretty much this is how it's going to sit. So I just have the jack holding it up so the lip is flush against the birch on both sides. Now I'm just going to take a pencil and go around the edge so I know where my starting point is. Pencil mark is all made. Kind of had to do a few passes here, but it's the inside most line that I'm going to use. So yeah, now I can take the splitter back down, throw it up back on the garbage can, and then start measuring out how exactly I want to shape this splitter. So now that I've got my line traced out, I'm going to measure 3 inches out from my line and make little marks all the way around, and then play connected dots. Now that's cool if you want to keep the same shape of your lip or your bumper, but I kind of want to get a kind of angled section over here, so I still have to start with that 3 inches out all the way around. So let's get started with that. So I measured out my 3 inches, made my dashes on my little marks, and I connected dots to each of them. It went all the way around 3 inches. Now, me personally, I like my splitters to have an extra surface area in this corner. So my last splitter, let's see if I can zoom out. Exactly, there we go. So my last splitter had this 90 degree, well, not 90 degree, but whatever degree angle this was. I kind of like the extra surface area here, just me personally. If you don't like this, you can just do your 3 inch or 5, whatever, however big you want to make it. But personally, this is what I like, so that's what I'm making. So what I did was I measured 14 inches from the edge of the splitter blade, and I made a mark on both sides. So edge of the splitter blade, 14 inches, made my mark. Then from the edge of this mark, I did another 14-inch mark, you can see here, and then I took my square to make sure that my 14 inches is the same down here at the outside edge of where my splitter's gonna end. And then I took another straight edge that I have, another square, or if this is long enough, you can take that out of that square, and I just connected the 2 dots. I went from one end of the 14 to the other end of my splitter at the 14 where they match, and that'll give me this angle here that I'm looking for. Did the same thing on this side. So just to repeat and go over and solidify what I said, this is the 3 inches off of my lip. I measured at the 3-inch point up 14 inches. And then from this line here, I measured in 14 inches. And I made sure that at that next 3-inch line off the lip that I have, that 14-inch line matches here. And then I just took a straight edge, went from that 14-inch mark to this cross mark over here. And again, that gives me this extra surface area. So yours doesn't have to be 14 inches and 3 inches and so on and so forth. But this is basically how I went about making my design. So this should line up just even with the tires or just outside of the tires, because the tires stick out quite a bit. Now I can cut. All right, see, so now I've got my cuts. I've got that extra little bit of surface area that I was talking about. And overall, I think this looks pretty good. I do have to take my palm sander to this because I've got some high spots. I don't know if you can tell. A little high spot there. Just gonna smooth out these edges a little bit. This is it. So I took the sander, sanded down the edges, made sure they're pretty nice, straight and smooth. I had a nice little lump over here I had to sand out. I don't know if you can kind of see it right here, but it's better than it was before. So ready for the staining or sealing process. This is what I used in the past, and it worked pretty dang well. This back there, that black thing, was one of my older splitters. Just a 3-inch, not with this extra piece, but I sprayed it down with this and then I painted over it, and the thing was great. Like the water didn't soak into it. It worked really well. But when I went recently to pick this up, they didn't have this, so I'm going with just a regular old-fashioned, you know, stain type of thing, waterproof stain and sealer. So I got the darkest color I could find, so that way when I paint black over it, it doesn't look weird. So this is pretty much it. You can either use a rag to spread it across or whatever, but I'm gonna use a little paint bucket and roller, and yeah, hopefully it comes out good. So that can, I thought was dark stuff, but it's not. It's actually a tintable sealer. So the sealer is clear. I don't know if you can kind of make it out. Ooh, I missed a spot. You can actually see the difference there. The light and the dark. Let me fix this. A little bit of sealer over here. That's it. See, it comes out like whitish, and then once it dries, it's clear. So anyways, yeah, I just finished this up. I'm gonna let it sit in the sun, dry. I did top and bottom. I also went around the lips, the sides of it. So it's gonna sit here, dry, and then I'm gonna paint. In my backyard now, I've got splitter sealed, so it should help keep moisture out of this wood, which would be great. Now it's time to paint it. Well, that was drying. Rattle can, paint job. I went heavy around the areas that I know is outside of the lip just because, you know, extra protection. So yeah, it's a flat black. It's drying. Now, it's time to go get a beer and watch paint dry. Boom, there it is. Splitter's done, it's painted. Paint's all right. Doesn't have to be perfect. This bad girl up in here, and then I'll slide the bumper on, line up the headlights, and all the good stuff. There it is. Splitter is on. The two side brackets are now in. One there, one there, nice and secure. Like I said earlier, I use this here solely because I don't like splitter rods. To me, it's just not my thing. But this holds the front end very well. Oh, that's rubbing or shaking. Oh well, whatever. Either way, this is nice and stiff, sturdy. The only area that I have some flex is out here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, right out here. So I tried to use just some angle aluminum that I had in the hopes that it would work, but it didn't really stiffen it up that much. So what I'm going to end up doing is getting some little support rods that'll go from this part of the aluminum up to this hole here. So that'll hold this end of the splitter together. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that stuff now, but I will be able to do it in the future. You know, this is it. I'm psyched. This is ready to go. I'm gonna slap the bumper on. The splitter is on. I am good to go. Nice and sturdy. As you can see, she looks good. Nice smoothie, sealed, painted. She look good. So now it's just time for me to load up and go to Palmer. Should be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to it because after Palmer, I've got like a month break, and then it's Global Time Attack back at Palmer. So I really want to take this time, the opportunity to get some practice there. Not that I think I'll be very competitive at Global Time Attack because those guys are just rockets. But if I can get some time to just, you know, learn the track instead of wasting a day there to learn the track. But enough of me ranting. This is it. I'm good to go. Again, bumper looks amazing. I mean, splitter looks amazing. I'm super happy with it. I really hope this video helped you guys out. If you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me a message or contact me on Instagram. And that's it. So I wish y'all well. Be safe. I'll catch y'all on the next video. And again, thank you very much for tuning in. Peace.